Hello. Today I'm going to talk about the current arena situation and what you can do to face off against teams that are stacked against you. So, everyone's aware that arena is much harder than it was, say, 6 months or even 3 months or even 2 months ago. Um, and a lot of people think it's the uh, inactive accounts, and I'm pretty sure that's true, that it greatly affects it. But what I can tell you is there are more arbiters in Gold 1 now than there was in Gold 4 3 4 months ago. There's a lot of people playing the game, and there's a lot of people who've completed their missions, and a lot of them have arbiter. And there's a lot more Lysandras, and there's a lot more. There was a 10x Lysandra event. You know what I've seen in today is August 17th, 2020. You know what I've seen a lot recently in the dungeons? I'm sorry, in arena is Prince Kymor's. You know why? Kymor has a 30% speed lead, and they just had a 10x on him. Right? It was like a couple of weeks ago they had a Prince Kymor 10x. So people spent money, got the shards, and now they're using them in arena. And what happens is the average quality of champion that an account of 3 or 6 months has now is very different than the quality of champion that that most accounts had 3 or 6 months into the game a year ago. So part of that is because a lot of champions came out, like let's say Rotus. Rotus came out, I think, in February is when you could have fused him. He didn't exist in October, so you didn't have to face him. Foley got buffed, and just there's just tons of champions that have gotten buffs, or like Mashal is a ridiculous champion. Um, so the average quality of champion on account is much higher than it is. So personally, I don't think that when Plarium does this fix where they get rid of inactive accounts, that's going to solve it. I mean, what they really need to do is rethink the ranks. Now, I don't want to go on to this is not meant to be a PvP rant. This is meant to talk about how to choose a turn meter boost their champion. It's not even really about that. There's plenty of videos on that. Some of them are old. Anything over 2 months ago or 3 months ago is actually dated now for arena. But it's really about the ramifications if you don't choose. I'm going to quantify it for you. So if you're facing an arbiter and you're running a seeker, what does that cost you? What do you have to do to overcome it? How much? I'm going to actually quantify it because this is not getting easier. Back in 6 months ago, or 3 months ago, I could take a Gorgorab, which has a 97 base speed, which is actually kind of low, and do quite well in Gold 4. I know that because I did, and I didn't get my Arbiter until about 2 months ago. Ironically, about a week and a half later, I pulled an Arbiter. But if you want to do the quests for the mission or the missions to get an arbiter, you have to do the arena, and it's because it's become so competitive. You actually have to really pay attention to the who you choose to turn meter, and you might have to choose a champion specifically for turn meter boosting that you use and nothing else. And this champion is just geared for speed and will die if it happens to face a fart. So really quickly, just in case, I'm going to give you an example of how speed is calculated. So the Seeker has a 103 base speed. That's fully ascended or not fully ascended. And this one has 252 or 265 points. 265. That's because he has 3 speed sets. He has Lore of Steel, and he has 119 flat points. I'm calling flat points any points that you get from artifact items because they're not percent based like attack percent. These are just flat points that are added. Now the thing about flat points is they're added. They're not affected by Lore of Steel. They're not affected by auras, and they're not affected by the skill set bonuses. That's only affected on your base speed. So this is the formula. Speed equals flat stats. Like I said, it's off by its side plus base speed times 1 plus the artifact set bonus times 1.15 if Lore of Steel and 1 if it's not. So if you have the maximum bonus that you can get to your base speed for this, not including auras, is 36% speed from speed sets times that 1.15, which makes it 41.4%. So the fastest champion, which would be Blind Seer, would be 115 basis points plus 41.4 times 115 plus our flat sets. This is just a quick calculation to show you that that's how I got to the 265. It's a rounded number. Just so you know, the game uses this number 264.62 versus 265. So if someone's calculated at 264.8 in their other team, they're going to go before this person does. And this really matters. You can go to Deadwood Jedi or Scratch AK-47s to really YouTube channels to actually really understand this, especially in terms of clan boss, because there you're trying to go 50 turns or 80 turns or whatever you're trying to go, and this really affects the order. So for arena, it's more just, as the legendary philosopher once said, if you're not first, you're last. This is just about going first. Some quick observations. That Seeker who had 265 speed, which would be very, very slow for Gold 4 today, got 45% of his total speed from flat speed, 39% from base speed, and 16% from set bonus and masteries. That might lead you to think, well, I can choose a slower champion, I'll just make it up with flat speed. I go, well, that's not actually true, because this 16% is based upon this base speed as well. So if this base speed goes up, this goes up, and that will eat into this 45%. And we'll show you in a second about that. So if we had a Gorgorab, and the reason why I keep using him as an example is because he was an A-list arena champion 2 months ago, and he was for a year. And now he's not. There's a couple of reasons why he's still good, but he's not what he was. But he has a base speed of 97. And Arbiter has a base speed of 110. If you have those 3 speed sets and 1 Laura Steel on each one of these, this becomes 137.2 plus the flat stats, and this one becomes 155.5. What started out as a 13-point advantage to Arbiter became 18.4. Now, to put this in context, my Arbiter, who's well over 300%, over 300 speed, not 350 or 360, but not 310 or 315 either, has pieces that have 18 speed on it, like that. So it's basically 1 extra speed gear, and Siffi's 24 if you manage to get her. So even someone like Seeker, who's only 6 points, works out to be 8.5, and if you have an Apothecary who's another 3 points, that's going to be about 12.5 points. That means it's still almost a piece of gear that Apothecary has over Gorgorab. So what happens when we add auras? Well, auras just take their that number, the speed aura, and multiply it by the base of that. So for in Arbiter's case, it's 33 points, and in Gorgorab's place, it's 29.1. So another 3.9. So that 18 and change, it was 18.4, went to 22.3, 18.9 for Lanicus, about 16 if there was an Apothecary in here, and over 10 for Seeker. So the point is you can't make, like, I have 4 accounts that have been gold 4. I have 1 piece, not including the boots with speed as the main stat. I have 1 piece that's this good. Now, the theoretical highest artifact speed, including glyph, would be 38. And that makes, by the way, if you're just wondering, without including the speed aura, the highest speed that you can get for a Siffi would be theoretically 434, and Blind Seer would be closer to 436. Then you'd have the speed bonus on it, or the aura bonus on it. The point is here, if you're a Gorgorab going up against an Arbiter, you can't win. You just can't win. So that leaves you with 3 choices. You can use you can quit and just never get your Arbiter, or need to get it through luck, or wait for them to fix it, which I don't know if Plarium will. Build a really, really tanky team. The problem with that is you need the right characters. You have to do a lot of farming, and then after that all goes to hell once you bump into a Rotus or a Foley. A lot of tanking gears are about invulnerability or huge shields or reses. One of my teams was always in Gold 4, but recently fallen to Gold 3, has a Duchess and a Sir Nick, and it's a very tanky team because I never got any of the speed bonus guys. Now I have a Seeker on it, but it's getting harder and harder. When I used to be able to get 3,500, now I'm struggling to get 2,750. So, and Duchess and Sir Nick are top 15, top 20 champions. Duchess is easily top 10. So what I'm trying to say is, it's possible to build a tank team. It's just really hard, and then sooner or later you'll meet a Rotus or a Foley or something else that goes through auras or goes through unkillable or doesn't allow you to res. Like I think Blood Gorged has a non-res, and Savia, and there's a few There's a few epics that have it as well, and you'll just, you know, it's just you can build the tanky team. It's just really hard. And then the third thing that you can do is you can take whoever's your fastest speed aura guy, and then take one character that you can gear that has the highest speed, that does one of two things. It either boosts your team's turn meter, or takes turn meters from the whole enemy's team, or puts the other team in crowd control, whether it's a stun or a freeze. So not that Shiramani is fast enough to be that speed lead, but if, let's say, she had 110 speed, you trick her out with a Gore Grab speed bonus, and you have her go with an AoE freeze at the start, and then that kind of resets everything, and then you get to go first. So you have to think a little bit outside the box. How do you get to go first? And so the answer now becomes the highest. It's regardless of who has the best speed aura isn't going to be your turn meter. You can't have Gore Grab and 3 others now. You have to have Gore Grab, another speed or control person, and then your damage dealers. So like an example is, if let's say we had that apothecary, so if that apothecary was, let's say, 16 points here, well, against an arbiter you're only 6 points, and that's a gear advantage that's still hard to overcome, but it is overcomable, although that includes that you both have a 30% aura. So if you have a 23% aura or a 24% aura for apothecary, it gets bad again, because you're losing another 7 points. So then that 6 becomes 13, which is still possible, but harder. And that's it. So we're going to talk about some characters now that might be able to help you in a couple of things that might help you think about it. These are the fastest champions in the game that have a reliable speed boost. Someone like Skartosis can cleanse and get a team speed boost, or Mausoleum Mage. Skartosis has 109 speed, or Manaya has 112 speed, but she has to die to give it. So let's just concentrate on this. Siphi has 114. Golden Reaper has 111. Golden Reaper is an interesting champion that I'm going to be trying out now. Arbiter, Lysandra, and Diabolus is 110. The thing to note about Diabolus is that she's farmable out of the 12 stage of campaign. You probably all have had thousands of her. She's 110 base speed, which is blazingly fast. And she has a turn meter boost, and I think a turn meter reduction. They're both small, but it could be enough for you to win. And then you have Lanicus, Apothecary, and Haruspex. People like High Katoon and Seeker are all below this. And these are the fastest speed auras that work in Arena. Lord Chazar is number 1. Then you have your Arbiter and your Prince Kymar, and you have Astrolith. And I'm going to talk about this one again. Lysandra, Mordu, Macabre, Fushan, and Jingle Hunter. These 3 are legendaries that have 24 all places. Jingle Hunter only has it in the Arena, but that's all we care about, because we're talking about Arena and solving the problem that player may not solve for us. If you have a Jingle Hunter, who's actually fusible at one point, if you have a Jingle Hunter and you have a Diabolist, you can go the same speed as Lysandra, and I still see Lysandra leads, and I see a ton of Lysandras in Gold 4. But sometimes I still see a Lysandra lead in Gold 4. So basically, you can be as fast with a turn meter boost and a turn meter reduction with a farmable rare and Jingle Hunter. This farmable rare and Jingle Hunter. And you can come real close with a Gold Grab or Skull Crown. So, my advice is, if you have a Jingle Hunter, a Skull Crown, or Gore Grab that are your best speed leads for Arena, pick the fastest one of these people that you can get your hands on, trick them out with all the other gear, and then either build all your DPS people fast, or run two speed boosters. So if you had a Diabolist and everyone has a High Katoon, although I think her speed boost is slow, but she also has a turn meter reduction, so you can kind of chain this. So you go before them, and then you take turn meter, and you kind of create more turns for you. So you can take a Diabolist, a High Katoon, and a Jingle Hunter. And Jingle Hunter can do damage, and he can also AoE freeze if he gets a kill. And then you take your heaviest hitter, whether it's a Skull Crown, or if the Skull Crown was the other one in the list, you take your heaviest hitter, and hopefully it's a Biggin or a Trunda. And if it's not, then, I don't think you're going to win with the Cal, but that's it. I mean, that's your only options. If I missed anyone on these lists, or anyone has any thoughts or constructive criticisms, let me know. I'm happy to hear them. Otherwise, I hope you have a good day and that you enjoyed the video. Thank you.